Are you a Sigma INFJ? Today, I'm going to talk about a clear indicator, a very deciding, definitive factor that you are, in fact, a Sigma INFJ. And that clear indicator is, do you value your peace and your um, privacy and your well-being over the opinions of other people, over other people's validation? And you may just easily answer, yes, yes, of course I do. But do you really? And here's how you know. Even if it is going to upset people, and even if people aren't going to like how you necessarily show up or what boundaries you have in place, if you are a true Sigma INFJ, you are definitely not interested in pleasing the masses. You you know who you are, and you are you become great at being able to embody who you actually are. And what does this look like in real life? I'm going to tell you what this looks like in real life, and I'm going to give you a few examples. But the first thing I will say about being a Sigma INFJ is picture all these people gathered at the edge of a frozen lake, right? And in that group, there is the Sigma INFJ, right? Somebody has to go out and test the ice. Somebody has to go out and see if that ice can handle the weight of the human body. And you, as the Sigma INFJ, are typically the one that's going to venture out on that ice and see if you fall through. And everybody else is going to be watching to see if you fall through. So, are you going to fall in sometimes? Absolutely. You are going to fall in, and you are going to have to pull yourself clawing and clawing your way and crawling your way back to the safe shore. That's just part of being a Sigma INFJ. It's how your identity is built, and it's how your strength is kind of born, is that you have to kind of fall down a bunch of times. More than I would say the majority of people. Where the INFJ, the Sigma INFJ really differs from the typical person is the Sigma INFJ values their freedom, values their independence, values their autonomy more than they value the validation of other people. And this is very conflicting and confusing earlier on in a Sigma's life. And I am going to take you through an example from my own life to illustrate how this process unfolds and how it unfolded for me. Um, Here's my clearest example that I could possibly give you. So I've always been a member of a gym, right? So even before I could drive a car, I was always an athlete growing up. And when I was 16, I joined the gym for the first time. And I've been a member ever since, right? So of all different gyms, all over the place. And in the beginning, I would say like and of course my teenage years, in my college years, in my even throughout my 20s, when people would want to engage with me in the gym and they would want to talk to me about whatever, I would feel that I needed to be socially acceptable in that interaction. And even though my gut and my instinct would be like, oh, geez, I really don't want to stop my workout and talk to this person, I would ignore my intuition early on, and I would cater to the other person's needs, wants, desires, right? So if they wanted to talk to me, I would drop kind of what I was doing and have a conversation. And how that process evolved, which is what I think the Sigma, it's a main aspect of being a Sigma, especially a Sigma INFJ, is that you have to slowly evolve into your fullest expression, right? And your fullest expression, really, if you are a true Sigma INFJ, is the lone wolf archetype. So as you evolve into that, your behavior slowly starts changing. So you're looking to please people less and less and less as time goes on. And that's a key indicator that you are in fact a Sigma. So back to my example at the gym. In my teens, in my 20s, I held on to the social acceptance piece of my life. And I wanted that social acceptance because I didn't even know breaking out of that box was possible, right? So I stayed in that position to please other instead of pleasing self because really they both cannot be done in my situation. And if you're a true Sigma, they can't really it can't really be done to please both people in your situation either. And the reason why is because when you don't want to engage, you don't want to engage. And it's not necessarily going to be popular among somebody who wants to engage with you, right? For whatever the reason. So, moving into my 30s, I started examining and I started becoming aware of the fact, hey, I really don't want to engage when I'm working out. I want to stay in my zone. I want to stay focused, right? Because I love to train and um, I have a lot of intensity and passion. And so when I'm doing something I'm very passionate about and very intense about, I kind of want to maintain that momentum and I really don't want to be taken off course. So in my 30s I recognized that. So I started trying to join gyms where I could kind of establish my position from the start. So whereas other gyms people were already used to me conversing with them if they approached me, I decided I was going to flip the script a little bit and change gyms, right? In order to establish a new reputation. And I did do that in my 30s. So throughout my 30s, I got better at setting boundaries, maintaining the boundaries. But I still was shaky. I was still evolving in this process of truly stepping into my true Sigma archetype, right? So that takes me into my 40s, right? When I entered my 40s, I became a lot more solid. Through all the work that I did with self, right? Through all my healing, through all my getting to know myself on a very intimate and very deep level, I discovered that okay, this is not a negotiable for me. When I go to the gym, I'm not looking to make social interactions. I and it's part of the lone wolf or archetype, right? Is the lone wolf doesn't necessarily need a lot of social interaction. We just by nature inherently can be in our own company and be fine. And if you're a Sigma, you get that. If you're watching this and you're a Sigma, you definitely know this. So in my 40s, I became more, what's the word? Solid in my understanding of self. And I was no longer willing to compromise my own peace and my own pleasure of going to the gym just to please somebody else. So that's when the script totally flipped. And I had made a decision that I was not going to back down when I needed to express myself nicely and openly, but I wasn't going to engage, right? If I didn't want to engage. And here's the other piece that goes along with this example is that if you're a Sigma INFJ, you are going to trigger people. It is inevitable. When you are the first one going out into to the ice of the lake and you're acting in ways that people are not used to other people acting in, and they want to watch kind of from afar, but they don't really want to understand you necessarily, right? And they shouldn't. I mean, in all fairness, why they don't need to understand me or they don't need to understand you. But be prepared to trigger people. And here's my follow-up example, my last gym example that I will give you about triggering somebody. Several months ago now, I maintain my energetic boundaries when I'm in the gym. And people can feel that, right? People can feel that I'm not there to socialize, I'm not there to talk, I'm there to train. And a gentleman, so he had tried to speak to me, right? And I wasn't interested in speaking. And I was okay with the fact that I wasn't interested in speaking. Apparently, he was not okay with that. And his response was to me, his reaction ended up being this. He said this to me in a very, he ripped his headphones off and he said, listen, real loud, right? He said, listen, if you don't want to interact with the people that go to the gym, then don't go to the gym. He said, if you don't want to interact, why do you come here? And so I was kind of taken aback, and it made me really fully understand the fact that people don't like it, right? When they feel rejected by you, even if it's just energetically rejected by you, because I never actually had a conversation with this guy. Um, and it triggers people. It like the example that I just gave. And so I had two choices there. I could either conform to the social niceties that our society values so highly, or I could value what I need in that moment, right? And what I need for myself. If you betray yourself, make no mistake about it. As a Sigma INFJ, right? Every time you betray yourself and you give in to the expectations and desires and wants and needs of others over your own, you lose a little bit of strength, a little bit of your strength, your internal fire, your internal this what's the word? Like the reserve, right? This inner strength reserve of reserves that you have internally slowly gets a little bit depleted. However, when you honor yourself and you show up in that, and it doesn't require being mean to anybody. It doesn't require ever being mean, actually. It just requires standing your ground and being truthful and being open and direct and just saying, like in that example right there, when he ripped his headphones off, I really didn't want to engage being spoken to like that. But my only response to that is, hey, I'm sorry that you're offended, but I value my peace and quiet when I'm in the gym, and I value being able to stay in my momentum and being able to stay in my zone. So if you have an issue with that, that's on you. That belongs to you. That doesn't belong to me. But I don't have any desire to talk when I'm in here. So that's how it could have been handled if I had to handle it. So as you could see, it's not me, it's not yelling, it's not saying anything negative about the other person. It's just simply stating where you are, right, internally and what your needs are in that moment in time. And if that person doesn't receive that well, that's on them. You can't worry about that. So every time you do stand your ground and you do stand up for yourself and you do hold your values and your own standards, right? You do hold true to those. You are giving other people, believe it or not, permission to do the same. You're opening the door for a new way of being and operating. And when you show up in your truth and you give people that opportunity, it it's the same, it's the equivalent of you going out onto that ice first, where people want to see if you fall through or if you survive it. And it's the same thing with us doing things differently in social situations. For example, you go to a dinner and after 1 hour, you've had enough social interaction. And now it's time for you to retreat, right? Instead of selling yourself and your own values and your own needs and your own desires, right? For the sake of pleasing other, because that is inherently what you are doing. Anytime you agree to something that doesn't feel right to you or good to you, especially in a social situation, that is you're selling your own soul. You're selling your own, you're pulling from those reserves of strength. You're not adding to them. So In the end, as a Sigma INFJ, your life and your behavior patterns are going to look different as a lone wolf. You are not here to fit in. If you were, you would be one of the other personality types that just conforms to everything, like so many people do. That you wouldn't even be watching this video if you were just following everybody else. Um, you are meant to lead if you are a Sigma. Whether or not you recognize that on a conscious level or not, it's really irrelevant. You are a leader in and of just your behavior, just the way you show up in your own way, in your own expression, the way that you value your freedom and your independence and your autonomy. All of those things are giving other people permission to show up in a different way than what they are used to showing up in. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to know your experience as a Sigma INFJ if you are one. And I know the road is tough. So write in if you have anything you want to share with the collective. Have a great day. Bye.